The people who broke you the most were not strangers. They were the ones who knew exactly where your heart was open. And that is not a coincidence. Psychology reveals there is a very specific reason why the people closest to you have the power to cause the deepest wounds. What you are about to hear is going to change the way you see trust, loyalty, and the people you let into your life forever. If that already hit different, subscribe right now, because what comes next will completely shift your perspective. The people who broke you the most were not strangers. They were the ones who sat across from you at dinner tables, who knew your childhood fears, who held your hand when you were falling apart. They were the ones you called first when something good happened, and the ones you ran to when everything went wrong. And that is exactly why what they did to you hurt so deeply. Not because they were powerful, but because you gave them the key to every single door inside of you. There is a concept in psychology called attachment theory, first developed by the British psychiatrist and psychoanalyst John Bowlby in the 1950s. Bowlby discovered something that most people never stop to think about. He found that human beings are neurologically wired, meaning hardwired inside their brain, to form deep emotional bonds with the people they trust most. And here is what that means for you. When you trust someone completely, your brain actually lowers its natural defense systems around that person. It stops scanning for danger. It stops protecting itself. It opens up fully. And that opening, that beautiful, vulnerable, courageous opening, is also what makes betrayal from a trusted person feel like a kind of psychological earthquake. Because the pain does not just come from what they did. It comes from the fact that your own brain never saw it coming. You were not naive. You were not weak. You were simply human, doing exactly what human beings are biologically designed to do when they feel safe with someone. Now, I want you to think about someone specific, someone who once knew everything about you, someone who knew your insecurities, your dreams, your past, someone who used that knowledge not to protect you, but to hurt you. Maybe they did it with words, maybe they did it with silence, maybe they did it slowly over months or even years in ways so subtle that you started questioning your own reality. That experience has a name in psychology, and it is called intimate betrayal. And researchers at the University of Vermont found that intimate betrayal that comes from someone you deeply trusted, activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Let me say that again so it lands properly. The emotional pain of being betrayed by someone you loved and trusted fires up the exact same neural pathways as being physically hurt. This is not just a metaphor. This is your biology telling you that what happened to you was real. It was significant, and it was not something you should simply get over as if nothing happened. But here is the lesson I need to teach you today, and I want you to listen very carefully, because this is the part that most people miss entirely. The fact that someone close to you caused your deepest wounds does not mean you made a mistake by trusting them. I know that might feel impossible to accept right now, because after the betrayal, after the pain, the mind naturally starts going back and searching for all the signs you missed. You replay conversations, you reread messages, you ask yourself over and over again, how did I not see this coming? And that process, that painful replay, is actually a well-documented psychological response. Researchers call it rumination. And while rumination feels like it is trying to protect you from future pain, what it is actually doing is keeping you trapped inside the wound instead of moving through it. You cannot heal a wound by constantly reopening it to study it. So what do you do instead? You start by understanding something fundamental about human psychology. People who hurt those who trust them most are not doing it because of something lacking in you. They are doing it because of something deeply broken inside of them. Psychologists who study narcissistic behavior and emotional manipulation have consistently found one thing. People who exploit trust do so because they have never developed what is called object constancy, the ability to hold both the good and the bad of a person in mind at the same time. They see people not as whole human beings, but as tools for their own emotional regulation. And the moment you stopped serving that function for them, the moment you had needs or boundaries or a bad day, they experienced it as a threat and they responded accordingly. And that response, as devastating as it was for you, was never really about you. It was always about them. Here is something else I want you to understand. Trust is not the problem. The absence of trust is not the solution. I have seen too many people walk away from betrayal and decide that the answer is to never trust again, to keep everyone at a safe distance, to build walls so high that no one can ever reach them again. And I understand that impulse completely. But what psychology consistently shows us is that chronic distrust, the decision to never be vulnerable again, does not protect the heart. It slowly starves it. Because the same neurological system that makes you vulnerable to betrayal is also the system responsible for your deepest experiences of love, connection, meaning, and belonging. You cannot selectively shut it down. When you close yourself off to the risk of being hurt, you simultaneously close yourself off to the possibility of being truly known and truly loved. The real lesson here, the one I want you to carry with you long after this video ends, is this. Discernment is not the same as distrust. Discernment means learning to observe people over time before you hand them the most sensitive parts of yourself. It means watching whether someone's actions consistently match their words. It means noticing how they treat people who can do nothing for them. It means paying attention to how they handle your boundaries when you set them. Discernment is not fear dressed up as wisdom. It is actual wisdom, and it is a skill you can develop not by closing your heart, but by becoming more conscious about who has truly earned access to it. The people who hurt you most were once the ones you trusted most, and that pain is real. It is valid. It is documented in neuroscience and psychology as one of the most profound forms of human suffering. But it does not have to be the last chapter of your story. In fact, if you let it teach you rather than define you, it can become the very foundation of the strongest, most discerning, most emotionally intelligent version of yourself that has ever existed. What happened to you was not your fault. Let me be very clear about that. The fact that you trusted someone deeply, the fact that you loved someone openly, the fact that you gave someone access to the most honest and vulnerable parts of who you are, that was never a weakness. That was one of the bravest things a human being can do. And the people who took that bravery and used it against you, they did not win. They revealed themselves. There is a profound difference between those two things. You are not sitting here today because you lost. You are sitting here today because you survived something that was designed, whether consciously or unconsciously, to break you, and you are still here, still thinking, still feeling, still willing to learn. That is not the story of someone who was defeated. That is the story of someone who is just beginning to understand their own depth. If this reached something inside of you, if something in these words felt like it was speaking directly to your experience, then I want you to do one thing right now. Subscribe to this channel, because every single week we go deep into the psychology of human behavior, trust, emotional healing, and personal strength. Not with empty motivational phrases, not with surface level advice, but with real psychological insight that gives you the tools to understand yourself and the people around you on a completely different level. You have already taken the first step by watching this far. Now, take the next one. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson. Because the most important education you will ever receive is the one that teaches you how to protect your peace, recognize your worth, and never again hand the key to your heart to someone who was never worthy of holding it.